Hey folks, how are you? Phillip Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. As I make the morning trek to work, this is crazy driving up there. This guy's smoking a blunt while he's driving, but salute to him. While I'm driving to work, I thought about just doing a little bit of educational videos on why you should probably form an LLC. The one thing that I will tell you about why you should form an LLC is when you are selling a product or a service, or you're doing something that you can create a product or a service for, you're going to be able to do a business. You're acting as an entrepreneur. What is an entrepreneur? A person who is marketing or selling services. That's just my definition of it, to get you to basically understand why you should think of yourself as an entrepreneur, or you should form an LLC. If you are a person who can draw and you have a drawing capability or artistic capability that people find interesting, and what you create, people have a demand for. If I buy land and I find that people do want to own land, it's the same relation. I have ownership of an item and or a skill or a knowledge base that is pretty much you can sell. People want to buy. That makes you in the first checklist of being an entrepreneur. Now, the will, the want, the mindset, successful entrepreneur, those are kind of different categories of what it takes. But at the base function, if you have a talent, a skill, or a service, or a knowledge that people are interested or would be interested in purchasing or buying, then you are an entrepreneur, whether you want to step in or put on that hat or not. If you do have a service or a skill or a knowledge base that is marketable and can be sold, then when you do sell it, you're not going to be able to get the same write-offs that you would if you had an LLC. If you have an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, or an S Corp or a C Corp, and those are different levels, which I'm not getting into. I'm just talking about this from understanding why you should start one, not what are the differences. And when you are having that talent and you are buying, I'm just going to use the artist component. You're buying pencils, you're buying sketch pads, you're buying ink or color, whatever you do, like Bob Moss as a painter, rest his soul, but you know, all the paint products, everything that you buy, even video filming footage to recording equipment, to anything from when you're doing that business work, anything relation to drawing, if you don't have an LLC, all the expenses that you are expending on products or all the materials, the pencils, the color, everything you do to make a sketch, to create an artwork, all of that you can't write off because it's not under an LLC. Every little penny, if you think about it, has already been taxed on wherever you got the money to purchase those products in the first place. So when you're now going to sell something for a profit, if you actually become very successful and you're generating a lot of income, and you now have what we call taxable income, you now incur a second form of taxation on that skill. I'm not talking about your 9-to-5 job. I'm just talking about that skill alone. So now you're being taxed again, and the expenditures you're no longer writing off. You're not writing off the expenses, so you're not gaining any of that. The money that you're already taxed on, let's say from your 9-to-5, if you're smart enough, you're starting out using your 9-to-5 and working and saving extra money to fund your business. If you're doing that, that's already tax dollars. So now you're going to spend some tax dollars, let's say $10, to make a piece of artwork, and that artwork's going to sell for, let's say, $1,000. Now, if you do that 10 times over, and you do that just in a month, and you start doing that, you know, for 12 months, you're going to have $120,000. So you need to now claim that income, right? But it was generated from those tax dollars that like I said, that $10 that's already been taxed. Now remember, you did that $10 one item sold for $1,000, and then you did that 10 times, brought you $10,000, and then you did that every month for 12 months, which brought you to $120,000. And if you just keep doing that, you're now in a different tax bracket where you're going to be taxed on that 120, because the whole 120, not, you don't have anything to write off against it. Now you could buy land from ancestrylands.com and start to leverage your taxable overhead, because you can write off things like property taxes. You can leverage depreciating values. If you are building a home on it, you can now do a whole lot to kind of lower your taxable income, but let's not get too far on that part. But right now that 120 is getting taxed, fully taxed. But if you have an LLC and you run the same numbers, you're doing $10 that you spent on products, you can actually write that off. And every little bit of how you set your business up to, if you have to go do shows, every expense related to producing that product, not just producing that product, the time you took to sell the product, your marketing hours, you paying yourself a salary now because you're doing the labor costs, you now are able to pay yourself. And again, this is not financial advice. This is just understanding the mechanisms of why an LLC works. Now, accountant obviously will let you know to what degree you can write off things based upon your actual income, and you're getting to now recapture some of those expenses. You're now capturing, or the expenses, that $10 you spent paying yourself for being able to be an employee within your business. Now you're able to take that 120 and lower that taxable income down. So, maybe you're able to write off, let's say $30,000, $90,000. Depending on your W-2 job, that 9 to 5, which we just forgot about, you might remember that you make income from there too as well. So now you're looking at $90,000 and not $120,000 to whatever your base, that 9 to 5 income is in addition to, right? So you now actually are lowering the amount of money that you're going to be taxed on. Now that $30,000 is not being accounted for because that's you getting paid as an employee of your business. So that money is pushed to the side and no longer is in the working. So that money is not going to be taxed again because that is money paid to you as an employee of the business. So now you're looking at, you now get to write off as a business owner. You get to capture those expenses, which is, it makes having an LLC a lot more attractive than just going out there and being a solopreneur without having an LLC, because you don't get the write-offs. And it's something like with my kids with their school clothes. A lot of times I brand their school clothes and I put them in videos because my kids work for me. You can employ your children. You can pay your children an actual wage, a fair wage for offering services in your business or being productive. Maybe you design shirts as an artist and your kids wear the shirt. And they do, you do photo shoots for your shirt designs or your art design. You have your kids wear them. And when that happens, you're able to pay your kids for being, models, if you will, in your business, which means that, again, you get that write-off and your kids get to understand business working, business dealings, and they're now also generating income. And in this time spent, now you have a labor cost on the time spent on you doing things like a photo shoot. You're able to write off and capture minutes of time now in the form of write-offs, expenses that you can write off now. So when that happens, you're actually lowering your taxable income even further. And that allows you to have more money that you're able to utilize to hopefully reinvest back into your business. And also to push you forward to get you better items and products that will cost more, but you're able to get better materials and you're able to bring about more value in your business to increase your profits. So again, that is one of the ways that this propels you owning an LLC, because again, you're not getting taxed at the highest amount. And it's one of the things that's the beauty of it, because the skill and the trick is to learn the tax law with an accountant and learn how to weave in the things that are allowable, like business trips. I take business trips all the time. We take family vacations, but we do business on them. So that way I'm allowed to capture family vacations that we're otherwise taxed for. I mean, I really do business. It's not like I just have one meeting and then that's it. I'm doing pretty much what my day-to-day business is actually at vacation. You know, my wife and kids understand that the reason why we're able to go on vacation is because of the business and the business income. So business doesn't stop when I'm on vacation. What I do is allot out a time block to conduct business daily, because I have daily operations that need to be managed by myself or overseen, and I do those in a lower capacity while I'm on vacation instead of having them, you know, being at my full attention. But I do have a manager in my business that takes care of the majority of the work. So again, I'm recording videos and doing that while on vacation to give myself that complete write-off as a business trip. The last thing, which my wife actually found out when we did our taxes, is that a portion of your living space, because you do have a home-based business, can be written off. That you need to make sure you check with your accountant, because you are able to deduct some of that rental, because we rent, or your mortgage expenses against, you know, your expenditures. You get to actually claim some of that as an expense under your business, which makes it even more attractive to have an LLC. And as opposed to just being a solopreneur with no LLC, you now get to write off some of your living expenses. So again, it starts to look a lot more attractive on why you should have an LLC. And I have another video where I talked about, you know, how to properly set one up, which you should refer back to, folks. I'm going to keep it short and simple. That's all for today. Phillip Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com, folks. Remember, like and share this everywhere. I hope you've been educated, enlightened, and least of all, entertained. Remember, folks, the link in the description section is to my book, Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing, where you can learn all you need to learn about investing. It's available on Amazon. The link's in the description section below. Also, a link to my website, ancestrylands.com, is in the description section below, as well as where you can find me on all social media, folks. Remember, own property or be owned as property. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, and I'm out. Peace.